It is, it's 4 o'clock. I think Burke is he just gave me the high sign.
Oh, he's ready.
Okay. It's 4 o'clock. Burke, I think, is coming, but we don't have him here yet. But in the interest of everybody's time, let me call this special meeting of the Redevelopment Authority, City of Oshkosh, to order. Darlene, the roll.
Hintz.
Here.
Lasky.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Stam.
Here.
Tower. Belter. Birmingham.
Here. Thank you very much. We've got several items on the agenda for this afternoon. The first item of new business, and we'll note that Tower is here. The first item of new business is Resolution 14-06 to approve the Middle Village Plan, which was submitted to members of the authority under separate cover, and it's the only thing we got that's in color, as I recall. So, any conversation? Alan, do you have anything to tell us about this?
At this point in time, the Plan Commission and the Council have adopted the Middle Village Neighborhood Plan, and the Neighborhood Association was instrumental in putting this together, working with the city's planning department and other divisions. If there's any questions, I believe a representative from the neighborhood is here.
Mr. Palmieri is here. Any questions for him from the authority?
No question. I just say I think it's an impressive document, and I think the goals are admirable and realistic. And I think that residents should be commended, and that the staff should do pretty good.
It's a very comprehensive document, and it's obvious that lots of time and thought went into it. And it's a good start, and probably will be a good model for a lot of our other neighborhood associations.
I think you're right.
What's your pleasure?
If there's any comments from the public.
Well, I didn't realize that that was part of the public hearings.
No,
but-
all our items are.
Oh, okay.
Open to
Any comments from the public, Tony?
Tony Palmieri, 212 West Parkway Avenue. I want to thank you for your kind comments and hope you do pass items 1406, 7, and 8. The Middle Village Neighborhood Association started off as a neighborhood watch, which we still have a neighborhood watch element. We think public safety is crucial. But what we discovered around 2011 is that neighborhood watch by itself doesn't create the kind of changes that we'd like to see in the neighborhood. Often when people go through a neighborhood and they see neighborhood watch signs, it tells them that maybe this is a place they want to avoid. So we came to the conclusion that we needed more vision, and we needed more infrastructure development, and we needed to make our neighborhood more of a destination, a place where people actually want to live. We've had a reduction in owner-occupied homes. We'd like to see that reversed. We'd like to see more homeowners, and we do think that this plan and the items that you'll see after this are crucial in doing that. So we were thrilled to get the Plan Commission support, and we do hope we can get yours also. Thank you.
Any questions for Tony? If not, anything else from the public? Okay, now I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of 1406.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comments from the RDA? If not, Darlene, take the roll.
Hintz.
Aye.
Lasky.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Stam.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye.
Approved 6.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 1407. That's to approve a conditional use permit, planned urban development for green space usage, Ida Avenue and Franklin Street. Note that we received both by email and I believe in our pack or at our places today an amendment to the initial motion, which was distributed with the pack for this meeting. It is simply indicated that with the items that have a little mark to the left of them, the amendments are the items with the mark to the left of them, adding the fact that the applicant is responsible for maintenance of the site. No user fees may be assessed for the use of the urban green space. So those are the two items on 14-07. Any questions or comments from the members of the authority?
Make a couple of comments. One, I think it's a good idea. It's a great addition to the neighborhood. I think it'll be useful. This is something I've been after. That's the first thing. The second thing is, with the requirements for upkeep and that, I think that's important to have in there in any of these things we do. The third thing is this neighborhood group has been very responsible when they've done gardens and other things. So I full faith that they will live up to the obligations under the plan. They have a rich history of doing so. So I would urge approval.
Any other comments from members of the Redevelopment Authority? If not, anyone from the public want to speak to this? Tony?
Yeah, just very briefly, I would just like to invite all the members of the Redevelopment Authority to this space on Tuesday, August 5th, is National Night Out. And I believe from, Alan, do you know the time? Is it 6 to 9, I believe?
Not off the top of my head.
It's
Somewhere in that time.
Somewhere in that time frame. And the Middle Village neighborhood will be celebrating National Night Out in this particular space on Ida and Franklin. So if you've not been there yet, or would like to see more evidence that, in fact, the neighborhood really does see this as a good community engagement spot, that would be a night to come out and see it. We're very much looking forward to this project. It's been in our sights for a long time. I appreciate the mayor's comments complimenting the neighborhood for what we've done with other spaces. I'm very, very confident that the neighborhood will take very good care of this space because we do see it as a vital component of trying to attract attention, positive attention to our neighborhood. So thank you very much.
And you may want to come by bicycle, right, rather than car.
Because of road construction.
Yes.
Yeah, if you've got a bike or like to walk, that'd be better at this, at this point.
Then we'll get there.
Any questions for Tony or further comments from the board? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? I'm sorry, we got to call roll. Sorry, I'm running the wrong board.
Hintz.
Aye.
Lasky.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Stam.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 1408, also the subject of an amended resolution before the Redevelopment Authority this afternoon. The two amendments to the previously submitted resolution include the same ones as our prior item, and that is that the applicant's responsible for maintaining, mowing, cleaning, and keeping it orderly, and no user fees may be assessed for the use of the property. Any questions or comments from the members of the Redevelopment Authority? Hearing none from the, sorry.
Reiterate what I said before. They have a history with gardens out there and have done a great job. It's important to us that that get done, so I would urge passage.
Anything from the public? Tony, anything on this?
Just as Mayor Tower suggested before, many members of this neighborhood have been involved in the community garden on Jefferson Street. And one thing that experience has shown is that once a garden goes up, volunteers seem to really come out of the woodwork. There's been very, very few problems at the Jefferson Avenue garden. People have gotten motivated for it and fired up to keep it well maintained, and it's very neat out there. And we are confident the same thing will happen here on somewhat of a smaller scale. But we see this as critical as the park space. So we would appreciate your approval. Thank you very much.
Questions for Tony? If not, is there a motion?
I would move to approve.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 1408 concerning the community garden. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Darlene?
Hintz.
Aye.
Lasky.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Stam.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye.
Carried 6.
The next two motions deal with utility easements on the south side of Marion Road. Alan, you have some skinny for us on that?
Sure. The first one for AT&T on the south side of Marion Road is just a cleanup item in that Marion Road got moved and the AT&T cable ended up outside the right-of-way, so it really needs to be put in an easement so it can continue to operate as it has been. Recommend approval.
Questions from the Redevelopment Authority? Any comments from the public on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move 1409.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion from members of the board? If not, Darlene?
Hintz.
Aye.
Lasky.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Stam.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Next on our agenda today is Resolution 14-10, sounding suspiciously like 1409, except it's granting the easement to Sprint and Nexus for the same reason. Is that correct, Alan?
This would actually be a new line. They are installing fiber optic. They already use the water tower. They're just using a different route to get to the water tower, and they want to go across the RDA's property on the far west edge of our parcel there. The proposed locations would typically be in the setback of any kind of improvements, so I don't see that being a major factor. Public Works did point out and would suggest to add, if the RDA approves this, is that the RDA will not be responsible for or participate in any cost to relocate the fiber optic and/or easement in the future.
So if something should happen, get developed there in the future that was going to require this to be moved, it's not going to be our responsibility, correct?
That would be our
Okay.
suggestion.
Is that contained in 1410? Is there language in it?
Yes.
It is in the resolution.
Yes.
Any questions or comments for Alan on this? Any comments from the public?
I just asked one quick question, yeah. This in no way limits any future development in any way, shape, or form.
It should,
Granting the easement.
it should not. Every other property has an easement on it for these types of utilities, so it'd be hard for me to come up with a scenario where it would limit us.
Is one of the questions about the potential relocating it having to do with the fact that this is running along the Lamico property and whatever might happen to that in the future?
That would have
a bearing?
potential impact on what could happen on our parcel.
That was where I was coming from.
Yeah, actually, it's, the Public Works condition was basically dealing with Riverway Drive if we extend it, because the easement location would come up here and across here, so that Riverway would, the intent was to take Riverway all the way down to Marion. So it would run right along the property line here, but.
It would cross Riverway if Riverway was to be extended.
Right, right. They were just concerned that if we put Riverway through, that we're not assisting with that. And if the water tower moves, because they're looking at the new water tower in the next 2 to 5 years.
I don't think that's going to happen.
So, those were just different things that they were concerned with.
Comments from the public on this? If not, and if there's no further questions or comments from the members of the Redevelopment Authority, I'll entertain a motion.
Can I just go back, if Riverway were extended, what happens there again?
That we wouldn't be responsible for moving.
Okay,
or-
but they would obviously have to relocate and then come back to
Potentially.
us again, right?
Potentially, yes, depending on where the utilities that the city would want to install would end up.
Okay.
This thing could go under the street ultimately, could it not?
Yes, it could.
So,
That's
but
where a lot of
there's
the-
probably going to be some messing with it if we're putting in storm sewer or sanitary sewer or any water means like that.
Correct. If it goes in the city's right-of-way in the future, then there wouldn't be anything to even worry about.
Right.
A motion to accept 1410.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Darlene?
Hintz.
Aye.
Lasky.
Aye.
Schneider. Stam.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Thank you. We have a couple of public hearings on the agenda this afternoon. The first of them will be with respect to the proposed spot blight designation for 1210 and 1212 Oregon Street in Oshkosh. Let me open that hearing at this point and ask if there's anybody from the public who wishes to address the Redevelopment Authority concerning 1210 or 1212 Oregon Street. Seeing or hearing none, I guess what I can do at this point is to close the public hearing. Do we want to do the resolution on this, or should we do the other hearing?
next hearing.
Okay, then what we'll do is we'll open the public hearing on the second subject, for which we have public hearing this afternoon, and that's concerning 1212 Oshkosh Avenue. I'll open that hearing right now and ask if there's anybody present who wishes to address the issue of the proposed spotlight designation at 1212 Oshkosh Avenue. Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that public hearing and move on to Resolution 14-11, which has to do with the spotlight designation for 1210 and 1212 Oregon Street. We've received a memo in our packet from Alan, and my guess is that he's going to talk about that.
I'd be happy to. This particular property has been deteriorating over the last few years here. It's been coming to the code enforcement's attention. When we brought it to the property owner's attention, they told us about kind of the situation with the family, and that's when they suggested that perhaps they could donate it to the city for future redevelopment renewal. So the proposed resolution would approve the spotlight designation and accept the property donation for future demolition for future redevelopment.
If we do accept the donation, at that time, we don't really take possession of the home, or it's not unoccupied at that time, is that correct?
It's unoccupied, correct?
Oh, it is unoccupied.
It's unoccupied.
How long can the home stay there before we need to knock it down?
It could stay there for a good amount of time. It's just a matter of time when we could actually schedule the city crews or hire a contractor to demolish it. And that's usually a function of either time or the funds available to hire somebody. Usually we can get those down within a year.
And this is the building just south of Oaks' Candies, right?
Correct.
Any other questions or comments from the members of the RDA? Not? How about anybody from the public here to speak about this? You aren't here for that, Gary?
Not here to speak to it, I'm here to observe. If anyone has any questions,
Okay.
family representative is here.
Okay, hearing no comment from the public unless we need some. Is there a motion before the board?
I move approval of 14-11.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second that?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? One thing that I think bears note is that this is not in any of our redevelopment areas, but this essentially is consistent with prior actions that we've taken as an authority, where we have taken possession of a number of property, particularly on Oregon Street.
Blighted property.
And then the concept is to attach them and make them useful in the neighborhood. Is that right?
Correct.
Any further discussion or questions? If not, Darlene?
Hints,
Aye.
Lasky,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Stam,
Aye.
Tower,
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Next item is the Resolution 14-12. We have a lot of 12s going on today. This is 1212 Oshkosh Avenue. Alan, what you got for us?
Yes, this property is vacant as well. Brought to our attention by the property owner that it would be available for acquisition. This is not in a redevelopment area, however, it is in a location where the neighborhood will be redeveloped someday in the future, either due to the improvements in the intersection or the land uses, or both potentially. This particular property would be purchased for a purchase price of $40,000, well below the assessed property value, and the city would plan to demolish the structure sometime in the next year to make it available for either the combination with other neighboring lots or widening the right-of-way for a future traffic improvement at that intersection.
Any comments or questions from members of the RDA? Not? How about anybody from the, I'm sorry, Steve.
This is certainly not, building in particularly good repair, and could come down. But I guess I had a little bit more trouble with this, mostly in the sense of wanting to know exactly what our policy was for spotlighting and acquisition. You know, I can understand cases of where we are over time assembling a parcel, as we have attempted to do or are attempting to do on the south side. I can understand spot designations in residential neighborhoods where a lot can be used to rebuild another house or Habitat for Humanity. I just find on this location that our rationale is a little vague. You know, it doesn't seem to quite fit into those categories. The argument that we'll do it and assemble other parcels for redevelopment in the future just seems really vague, you know, as a rationale for assembling it. I know that and Mr. Snyder pointed it out, that, you know, there are funds that have been set aside in the capital improvements program for spot blight designations through the city. But do we have a little clearer set of objectives in terms of when we would and when we wouldn't? I mean, obviously we don't want to pick up every case like this. And, you know, what's the rationale? I mean, for example, I can't see a time that Reps Bar is going to allow for that piece of property to be assembled with other parcels for redevelopment. Where are we?
I happen to agree with him in a way that I don't necessarily, I mean, looking at priorities in the city and understanding that this is kind of in the middle of stuff, but not necessarily, it seems to be kind of an island in the middle of its own neighborhood here, or its own street. And for $40,000 plus taking it off the tax roll plus demolition costs in the future, it just seems like a heck of a big investment for such a small parcel. That I think the priorities of what we're doing with other areas of redevelopment in the city may stand on their own laurels. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay if we can get a good rationale, if I can have an explanation, but I don't think assembling other parcels for redevelopment of the block in the future, you know, makes the threshold in terms of an argument of why that property, or how we choose what we're going to apply spot blight to and what we're going to buy, and where we would draw the line on certain properties. And, you know, and I'm prepared to be convinced, but I need to be convinced. Right?
At this point in time, we don't have a written rationale or policy as to which properties we acquire. Based on history, it's always been, can the property be better reused or redeveloped in another way? Based on what the land use is on that block, we think that is a good candidate for a redevelopment site. And in talking to the planning department and the planners, that's a corridor that we've always planned on redeveloping. So when this property became available, it's been identified for redevelopment. That's why we figured it would naturally be a good acquisition piece.
Do we have any indication that, you know, any of the other properties, you know, may become available in some reasonable period of time?
Yes, we've already investigated that, and there's at least one, maybe two of those properties are already available. It's just a question of would we have the money to pay what they're asking at this point in time?
And what would we be looking at for redevelopment? I mean, you did mention about a change in traffic pattern there, possibly.
Yes.
But what are we looking at? I mean, is that?
That, I couldn't tell you. That would be we'd have to go through Wisconsin Department of Transportation, since that's one of the state
But
highways.
what if we didn't, if it wasn't a traffic issue, are we looking at that as
Oh,
commercial? Or
oh, yes, commercial redevelopment. Could be a mixed use with commercial on the first floor and multifamily on second or upper floor.
Do you have any sense, Alan, of what kind of a time perspective? I mean, I know it's not immediate, but, I mean, is this something that actually does have some time perspective to it, or is it simply an open-ended thing in the future?
We have a long time horizon when it comes to something like this. I think we could assemble the 2 or 3 parcels relatively easily, but when you're talking all the parcels on the block, I think you're right. It would be a longer term. In talking to the Parks Department, they have plans for the redevelopment of Rainbow Park as well. So I think that would have to be factored into the redevelopment of this block. Even access to Rainbow Park is a problem that they're looking for different solutions, and this could be part of the solution to access to Rainbow.
Last question. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, a single payment is not of the magnitude that we've been paying for other kinds of things. But ultimately, is this kind of a purchase our best investment in a time of competing needs?
Don't have any others that are competing at this point in time that I'm aware of, so.
Well, I mean, all of the multitude of, development, redevelopment things.
We wait until somebody is willing to offer something to us rather than go out and seek these. So everything you've gotten to this point have been the property owners approaching the city with a vacant parcel. And that's been our policy.
I mean, I suppose it would come down to if we had another offer and it was down in the Southside Redevelopment Authority for a similar price, are we likely to take that one before we would take this
I
one?
think you're right. We just don't have anything like that at this point in time.
If they were to change the traffic pattern as was suggested, you said that would be a state issue?
Yes.
Would the state possibly look at doing some acquisition there and save us the money of doing that?
It's possible, but it's nothing in the state's plan, 6-year plan to do that right now. We did talk to the state about that, and they wouldn't commit to doing one thing, one way or the other at this point. They do know it's an issue with that intersection, but it's not in their 6-year plan to do anything about it right now, so that's why they wouldn't acquire anything. If we got it on the 6-year plan, I think they would go through that process, but it's not there right now.
When's the next opportunity to open that?
Beg your pardon?
When's the next opportunity to open that plan up for the state?
I'd have to ask DOT. I don't know.
There was indication that there's a pool of money set aside for items like this.
Correct.
What is that? What is the total amount that's set aside?
$50,000.
So this basically eats it.
Correct.
And that's for this particular neighborhood that this money is allocated, or is that just for more spotlighting in the city?
No,
in the
that would
total
be
city?
spotlighting in the city.
From that standpoint, I would agree that I don't think that this is a priority area at this point, and we're kind of using our pool of dollars as to shoot one fish in a barrel. Just an opinion.
The question that I ask is, I can understand that there are 2 parcels in that block that are not apt to be immediate parcels of a bigger redevelopment area. One is Reps Bar, and the other one is there's a tavern slightly to the west of that. The rest of those parcels are all kind of ready, I think, for this. What would happen if we don't do it? I mean, is that a parcel, is that 1212 and 1212A have to be a parcel that anybody is going to walk into town and say, there's where I want my business? Is it going to sit for a while if we don't buy it?
It's hard for me to.
I mean, no one can predict that, but I think that's the other thought, is what happens if we don't do this?
How long has it been sitting?
About a month.
Okay.
Oh, so it's only been vacant a month?
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from the RDA or from the public? If not, we have a motion and second, do we? I don't remember.
No.
We don't. I'll entertain a motion, if there is one. Opportunity to move this, this motion, which is 14-12. Matter dies for lack of a motion.
Lynn? Protocol?
You don't trust me, do you?
No. Not in government,
When the
no.
city attorney.
Okay, moving forward.
Sorry, John.
That's okay, I'm not offended. Let's take a look at 14-13, the option to purchase the corner of Jackson and Pearl in the Marion Pearl redevelopment area. Anybody from the public want to address this? Go ahead.
Yes, hi, I'm Bob Grigorski. We've submitted this option to purchase on behalf of Grigorski Development and Bank First National. We also have Mike Dempsey and Joan Walt here from Bank First National. I think the option is somewhat self-explanatory, or the cover letter anyways. Bank First National currently leases space in the city of Oshkosh, and we've been looking in the downtown area for a spot to do a more permanent building. And we enclose pictures of the potential style of the building that we've constructed in Sheboygan. We also have under construction right now in Two Rivers, and we also have plans to build the same building in Appleton, Wisconsin. So what we've asked for is a option period, a 6-month option period on this site, and the purpose of the option is simply to do due diligence investigation. The site has some environmental concerns, has some soil concerns, even has some stormwater concerns with the biofiltration system that's in it. We've had it looked at on I would say, a minimal basis, and we want to start to spend some money on it, and the only way we want to do that is if we have the site under control with regard to an option. We did follow up the email that you have in your packet. We did send an option contract over to Alan Davis, which is a standard form, Wisconsin standard form option contract, again, which is probably self-explanatory. The only thing that we would stress within the option is that we put a purchase price of $1, which doesn't sound like much, but we also included the fact that we would create an increment in this TIF district of $2 million, a minimum increment of $2 million, potentially would be more. The building that we've built is a pretty nice building, and this would be a main office here in Oshkosh. So we're here to answer any questions. And
in the cover it says potential value of $2 million. Where does it say it's your minimum $2 million?
I think it says minimum increment.
On the first page, 14-13, and
Let me read the letter that I supplied.
I wrote that.
Yeah, it's actually in two places. It's in the letter that we supplied.
As approximate.
Actually, it does say approximate value. The option that we drafted up. Oh, you have a copy of that with you?
Didn't print it out.
Okay. The option that we have reads, buyer understands that the property is in a TIF district, and as consideration for the purchase price, the buyer shall enter into a TIF agreement with the city of Oshkosh, agreeing to improve the value of the real property by at least $2 million. So we put in the option, it does say at least $2 million, and our intent is not up to $2 million. It is a $2 million base increment.
We need to modify the resolution to reflect that? Or could we modify the resolution to reflect that?
We certainly can, and that would be done by adding the word minimum in place of the word potential at the end of the third paragraph. I think that does it.
And we have no problem with that. That was our intent.
You know, this would have to come back to us anyway, because really what we're talking about is just the option.
This is the option. This is right.
All we're doing is an option, so we aren't agreeing to the $1, we're not agreeing to the $1 million, they're not agreeing to the $2 million. Is that-
Well, I don't think so.
That's sort of their plan, as I understand this. They're just asking we don't offer this up to somebody else.
Well, but if they come to us within 6 months and say, here's your buck, we have to say, here's your land. I mean, we
Yeah.
we don't.
We're not going to,
But does the price have to be?
I think that this is,
$1 then?
it's worded kind of funny, and I was going to
That's
ask
all I
that
don't-
question. Are they paying us a
Totally
buck
based-
for the option, or are they saying the option is to purchase it at $1 within the next 6 months, which is what I think they're saying?
actually, the option contract says both, just as far as explanation. The price of the option is $1, and the purchase price is $1. But the consideration obviously isn't the $1. It's the creation of the increment. So, and then the second part of the question is does it come back? We don't want to go out and spend the money. It's not our intent to go out and hire engineers, hire architects to spend money on a site that we don't control. So if your position is, sure, we'll let you look at it, but you have to come back here later and negotiate whether or not we're going to give it to you, then we don't want to spend the money. It doesn't make any sense to us.
Just trying to clarify, all aware of what we might be agreeing to. The option itself has only a value.
And this is a site also that had a previous option on it. I think it was Alan, was it a year-long option? And originally it was a retail center with a pizza place that was going in there. That was the proposal on the previous option.
Last nickel pizza with some apartments upstairs.
Right. But I think, Burke, you're right. If we grant this, then at any time during the next 6 months, they've got the right to get this property from us for $1, provided they build a $2 million bank building on it. And so what we're really talking about today is, do we want a $2 million bank building on that corner or not?
I have no problem with that, bank building. Commercial development.
Mm-hmm. And the price is the same as we've offered larger parcels for, so.
And we got people involved in the community doing this. That's
Correct.
another thing that's important to me at this point in time. So.
I was going to say something, let's make it $2 and increase it by 100%, but
we are an end user too. Like when you said you have people involved in the community.
Killer to the deal, man.
but I don't want to kill the deal. Yeah. But I agree with Jason. Are we going to be okay with putting that word minimum in there, because this essentially is the resolution?
This is the deal, that's correct. So I think that personally, I think it's a good idea, because otherwise they could buy it any time in 6 months for $1 and put a house trailer on it if they wanted to, so.
But that is
Which
adequate
is-
to make that modification.
I think so. Lynn, do you agree?
That's what the option says.
If there's a development agreement anticipated, that would have to come back through you.
That's
Is that what I understood?
And I haven't had a chance to talk to planning about this specifically, but it is part of a plan development. We'll go through the plan commission and council for the plan development review as well, which I expect they'd want to have done within the 180 days. So that's another review that the council and the plan commission would have. And
And the RDA.
And the RDA, yes.
And we're good with twofold, the minimum 2 million and also the bank building. As I was going to say, is we're not a speculative group. We're not trying to do this to tie up your property for 6 months. This is for a specific end user that's already a user within your community, but they just happen to rent rather than own.
And Lynn, the question that I had is on the resolution. We're voting on this resolution, this wording, and it said in potential value, not.
Minimum value.
Yeah,
So
minimum value
I would be
would
uncomfortable
better.
voting for something that potential, even though we know it's there, but this is what we're voting on. So,
I presume that any motion would contain the strikeout of potential and the addition of minimum.
all right, gotcha. All right.
Are we agreed on that, or do we?
We're agreed. That was our intent, minimum value. So we have no objection to that strikeout and modification.
All right, move that we approve 1413 with the word potential value of $2 million in paragraph 3 be, the potential be replaced with minimum.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further
Let me just ask a
discussion?
question. Do we need the word assessed, minimum assessed value? Is that important, given some of our issues that we're having with some commercial properties right now?
On the assessed
It wouldn't
versus
hurt.
appraised
It
question?
wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're having some issues on assessed value of the building versus the assessed value, with the value being $2 million, with the assessed value, people come in and arguing for an assessed value of $750,000, so.
Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, and under the development agreement, I believe that the language they're going to be using is increased increment, which would be the difference between the current assessed value versus the new assessed value, which is exactly what you're looking at. It's not appraised value, it's assessed value. So we have no issue with
I
that.
just want to get that out. We're having some issues with
Sure.
commercial properties right now, the assessed value versus the values.
Right.
Ben, would you consider that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Second? Whoever seconded this?
I'll second it. Did you?
Oh, I thought it had been
I
seconded.
thought it had a second.
You
too.
already had a second.
You agree with that?
So what you're talking about is a minimum assessed value of $2 million in the third paragraph of the resolution? Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, Darlene?
Hints,
Aye.
Lasky,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Tower,
Aye.
Birmingham.
Aye,
Carried 6.
thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And Mike and Joan? We have an executive director's report. Alan, you've got a number of items that are on the agenda.
Yep, I'll touch
The
on
floor
those
is yours.
briefly, since we still have a closed session to get to. 1008 Oregon Street, Darlene and I met with the owners, and that was a very good meeting to talk to the joint property owners about developing a split of the land so each of them can use it for parking and their other uses for their tenant. And they were going to have some follow-up meetings with themselves and potentially some surveyors to figure out exactly how they divide that and get back to us, so. Report on that at our next meeting. Had to write this before she.
Okay, before you did. Okay.
Let's see. Good news on status of South Shore redevelopment projects. Boatworks, not only is the project under construction, we did get that additional grant funding for the canoe kayak launch, the parking lot, the bathroom shelter. So as soon as we get all that taken care of with the contractor, we'll be coming back to the city for a modification, a change order in the contract to not only build the Riverwalk, but now also build the park improvements at the end of Michigan as part of the project. That still would be completed in the spring of 2015 for the final restoration there. The Morgan District, we did obtain $953,000 towards the project on the east side of Oregon. That would be in front of office buildings that they're proposing to build. The city planning to include the matching funds in the 2015 CIP, and we're working with the engineer right now to obtain the permits necessary so we can bid this project this winter and start construction next spring of 2015. You can see Mr. Burns has had a little trouble with the Miles Kimball building that we sold him a year or two ago. He does have the new roof in, and the openings are sealed, but he's trying to find a contractor who can work on the scope of a larger project than he was anticipating within the building. That's why we haven't seen the action that we were anticipating.
I've seen that property has an opening quite often to it that doesn't seem like it's sealed. I'm wondering, does he have any vandalism issues in there? Has anybody else noticed that?
Mm-hmm. I have.
And is that an issue from a safety, from any kind of standpoint?
We'll check with the police department, but I haven't heard them bring anything to our attention at this point in time.
The fact that the building is not square just makes it, the whole interior renovation sort of cockamamie, is what I understand. Is that
Yes,
right?
it makes it much more complicated.
Is that the only issue we're actually dealing with here?
That's the only issue he's telling us.
Okay, because my concern is we've had several dates in which something was going to happen, and now it's just suddenly, now we've been pushing a little bit to make something happen, and at this point, they find the building's not square. I mean, it seems to me they could have found the building wasn't square year and a half to 2 years ago. So I'm concerned about where this is going, because he's currently searching. Does he have a time frame on this? You know?
It seems like it's going nowhere, to your point.
I mean, I don't know the answer. He's done some really good things in other projects. Vision building, the other stuff on 9th Street. This building looked tough to do from the very beginning, and I think he's finding out, and he kind of decided he wanted to put his time and effort into Fond du Lac for a while. Kind of walked away from this building for putting pressure, so. Is there anything else out there? Does he have any kind of a time frame, or?
It's been reported to us. He's somewhat committed to the project since he did invest quite a bit of money in repairing the roof at this point in time. So I think he's kind of committed, but I don't know what his time frame is.
Okay. I'm just hoping that we're going to move this thing forward, because
So do we put a time frame?
the building hasn't been square since he.
But in the same, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the same time frame, all that property was purchased by him.
And he did
that
build
whole
all
block,
those new buildings,
essentially
yes.
the whole block.
Right.
After the purchase of that whole block, essentially he built and rented all the rest. So I'm really not, I wouldn't be too impatient on that. That's a heck of a chore. And I bet you he's looking inside of it and saying, looking at those timbers and saying, I told him I was going to build something here, and I'd just soon sell the timbers. But that's not his expertise either. He did a heck of a job when it was the first Wisconsin building on the corner of 9th and Oregon, and then the old library, which was also a bank, and that was so he's got some. But this one he's really got to get it right before he can do anything in that.
I remember him standing here and saying specifically, it's the same amount whether I tear it down and redevelop it or whether I redevelop it as it is. And so I'm not sure he made the best choice.
Yeah.
Well, and Burke, you're,
I agree with everything he said.
No, I'm not.
The Division Street project was wonderful, the 9th Street.
Amen.
This building is an eyesore there, and has been an eyesore for the last couple of years, and we had hopes, and it was a challenge to begin with. If it's not going to happen, I'd just soon see it not happen now and get knocked down.
Well, it's really been an eyesore for about 40 years, 50 years. I mean, the building isn't a whole lot different than it was, but I understand what you're
So
saying.
it's not being used.
Yeah,
Used for a
we're
lot
just
of
having a
other
conversation,
That's all.
but he's been we've competed with him on a building, so he beat us out. So it's not like but I just think he's been really
This
good.
is
I'll
a
bet you he'll.
This is a tough project. It's not going
It
to
is.
get done. I wish it wouldn't get done pretty soon and get knocked down.
Yeah,
That's all.
this is.
so
gonna
your
be-
comment is really just be conscious of not being strung along if that's the case, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with
so
you.
something happens. The building gets knocked down, it gets redeveloped.
Yeah, no, I'm with
His
you. We're
choice.
on the same page. We're on the
I'm
same.
fine with that, but he does good work. And good, very good.
Alan, back to you.
Yep, and I know some of you were aware of the Pioneer Island Assessment Study that UW Oshkosh Business Success Center prepared. I know some of you were able to attend that presentation. They did highly recommend that we include the Pioneer Island with Buckstaff in the next iteration of the city's downtown action plan, and the city's actually putting that scope together and lining up where we could come up with the funding to do that, to include not just the downtown, but all the way down to the Buckstaff property over to Pioneer, to make it more of a package, make it more attractive to the redevelopment of the Pioneer property. So I just wanted to remind you that we haven't forgotten about that piece, that we will be continuing on that tax so that we can start that project in 2015.
And that's it for your report?
That's all I have to report today.
Okay.
No.
No, we have the
Oh, I'm
riverfront
sorry.
visioning.
There was one item added while I was gone last week. Here, I'll hand that out. Speaking of riverfront redevelopment, East Central is helping us with a visioning session, and they have 3 sessions that they've identified here in August that RDA and the public and business people and developers and anybody who's interested will be able to attend August 6th, the 13th, and August 20th at 3 different locations at 2 different times. So hopefully people would be able to make one of those or all 3 of them.
Well, good. I think that's a very good way to ensure if not lots of public engagement, at least the opportunity for lots of public, and that's what this needs to be all about.
I
Okay,
think I'm done.
now I think you're finished, correct.
One other item now.
We're going to need someone's going to need to make a motion for us to go into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent around 1, parent around G, for the purpose of discussing anticipated litigation and other matters appropriate. Is there a motion, Steve?
I move the following the adjournment of this meeting, that the Redevelopment Authority for the City of Oshkosh convene into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, parent 1, parent G of the Wisconsin statutes to confer with legal counsel who will give legal advice concerning strategy to be adopted in anticipation of litigation in which the city may become involved pertaining to a claim related to a promissory note executed by the Redevelopment Authority for the City of Oshkosh for property owned by the Redevelopment Authority located at 362 Michigan Street, former Boatworks property in the City of Oshkosh, and pursuant to Section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of negotiating the acquisition of public property located at 43 East 7th Avenue, where competitive and bargaining reasons require a closed session.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Darlene. Got to do that again.
Hintz,
Aye.
Lasky,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Stam, Tower, Birmingham.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Okay, we are now in closed session.